Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Emotional Intelligence Show. And today we're going to talk about productivity and emotions. And the reason I chose this topic is because I have spent many years feeling very productive and then feeling like I get knocked off of course. And I always felt frustrated by that. I felt like there should be a way for me to be able to stay on course, to keep that momentum, and also to be in the flow more, because who doesn't love a flow state? Who doesn't love a state where you lose track of time, where you are super creative, where you're getting a lot done, but it feels effortless? I love a flow state, and I know you do too. It really makes your work so rewarding and so satisfying. So when you have a day where you have like great productivity and great flow, and then the next day you're kind of knocked off of that trajectory, like something's irritating you, or something doesn't feel quite right, or you don't quite feel motivated. And then you're worried that you'll get stuck, or you'll get behind on your project, or that you might even not finish it altogether. So the reason that happens is that we are experiencing emotions and we are pushing them away. So you might be irritated about something, or some interaction happened, and after the interaction you just didn't feel quite right. Something was off. And because we're very attached to what we want to do, when these things happen, these little things that happen, they can take our focus. And the more we resist them, the more our focus is on them. And so, of course, the key is not to resist. And that is what we teach at the Emotional Intelligence School. Not resisting doesn't mean giving in, it means processing. So I also want to talk a little bit about time and emotional intelligence. When you're in that flow state, like I said, you do feel a sense of timelessness. Just like when you're in love and you're with someone that you're falling in love with, like time just stands still. There's no time. You just feel very, very good. And it's the same thing with a flow state. And then the farther we get away from that flow state, the more time speeds up, and the more mistakes we can make, and the more scattered we get, and the more frustrated we get with ourselves and other people. So your emotional state has a lot to do with how you experience time. And you can go from the timeless state of being in flow and being productive to, and another thing about that timeless state of feeling productive is that you are in the present moment, but you're a little bit future focused. And what I mean by that is what you are doing is taking the steps to create what you want to create in the world. So there's a purpose. So even though you're in the present moment, even though there's this feeling of timelessness, you're still future focused. You're doing what you're doing because it's creating or materializing what you want to bring into the material world. Now, if you were to take a step back from that and be in very expanded consciousness or enlightenment or nirvana or having a psychedelic experience, you have that sense of timelessness where there's no focus. There's not even a sense of time at all. But today we're talking about that flow state, that productive state where you're in the present moment, but you're getting a lot of stuff done and you feel so good while you're doing it and you feel so good after. And after that state, the next state is where you're getting stuff done and you're fairly aware of what you're doing and you're fairly content that you're doing it, but it's not where you're so absorbed in what you're doing that you're losing track of time or you don't experience time. And if you get a little bit farther from that, if you get more, you're starting to experience more, hi Elizabeth, you start experience more emotions, then you start to get scattered and you start to make mistakes and you start to feel frustrated. And if you continue resisting whatever you're feeling and not processing your emotions, then you will, start to feel stressful, and it will feel as if you can never get ahead or you can never get a handle or be ahead of what you're trying to do. So it's very important that whatever you're doing, that you process your emotions to the best of your ability. Because once you start processing them, people think like, oh, I just got to keep going until I finish this and then I'll process my emotions. That actually takes longer and it's harder and it's more stressful. It's better to just drop what you're doing as soon as you're aware of it and process your emotions. Identify what you're feeling, identify the cause, identify a solution if you can. That doesn't always come right away, but that's okay. And then, figure out if you have the skills to implement the solution that you have. And if you don't, you can acquire those skills. That is what learning emotional intelligence is all about. So that when you're creating and you're being productive and you're enjoying it and you're having great results and you feel good after, maybe the next day you wake up feeling irritated and you really want to get back to that flow state. What it takes is to process your emotions. And with practice, we all get very good. We all get very good at shortening our time where we get right back where we want to be. So I notice Elizabeth says, I know I need to find the time for myself. Yeah, that's very important, and it's a really good point because a lot of times we start doing so much that we keep going past our limit, past what we feel comfortable with, past, we go past our need for time for ourselves. And if you go too far past it, that's when you feel like so tired, you can't sleep, or so stressed out that nothing seems satisfying. So it is extremely important to I wouldn't even say find time for yourself. Like, I was just talking to some people, and they were talking about scheduling, and I really like scheduling time for yourself first. So if you're the kind of person who has a calendar, pencil yourself in first. Pencil in what you're going to do, when you're going to do it. And let's face it, sometimes, something comes up and you can't do it at that time. You can't do what you want to do, but I try to be very firm about that time. And if for some reason I absolutely can't do it, then I switch it in the schedule. I don't ignore it. So that is a very important part of processing your emotions, is having time for yourself, time to find out what you want, how you're feeling, what you want to do, what inspires you. It's very important. So that is what I have this week for the Emotional Intelligence Show. I want to encourage everybody to create the conditions so that you're in the flow state often. Notice what puts you in that state. It could be like doing something you've always wanted to do. It could be giving yourself a lot of unstructured time. That works for me. Like on Saturday and Sunday, for say the first 5 hours of the day, I only do exactly what I want to do. And because I get to pick, it just makes me feel more and more inspired and empowered. And it's not like I'm doing anything super exciting. You know, I could like start exercising and then kind of lose interest, and then journal, and then make breakfast, and then maybe go back to exercising. It's just the ability to do exactly what you want to do when you want to do it. You're welcome. Because so much of our lives are dictated to us, right? Like, our family wants us to do certain things, our job wants us to do certain things. If we have a partner, our partner may want us to do certain things. So having that unstructured time is just like magic. It's like magic time. So figure out what does it for you. What helps you get in that flow state? What helps you, what kind of activities help you lose track of time and are so absorbing and feel so good while you're doing them and after? Yeah, family obligations. Maybe next week I'll do a video about how to talk to our family members so that they feel more empowered to do what they want you to do. It's a really good topic because people want to feel empowered. And sometimes I know that I'm like this is a big issue for me, is when people want me to do something, I'm like so willing to jump in there because it makes me feel so valuable and important. And then I find myself like exhausted and resentful. So there are ways to understand what our family is asking for from us, but also to empower them and to figure out, who is the best person to do this particular thing and when and how. So that's what we'll talk about next week. Thank you for that idea, Elizabeth. We'll do that one. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. And if you would like to learn, work one-on-one with me to speed up the process of developing your emotional intelligence so that you're handling things in real time and having that good balance and making progress on creating the life you want to create, and at the same time, like honoring yourself and the people in your life. So have a great rest of the week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next Wednesday. Aloha.